just before we hit record on the pod today.
I love this breaking news on a pre-recorded podcast. It doesn't get any better.
Add like a breaking news, sound effect or something. Maybe we can add that in post. Just before we signed on to talk about all things latest news and the Patriots offseason moves, the Miami Dolphins informed linebacker Kyle Van Noy of his release. Van Noy, obviously formerly of the Patriots, kind of made his career with New England and got that deal in Miami in free agency last 2 off seasons ago because of what he did with the Patriots. So this is obviously a domino effect here that Van Noy could easily end up back with New England. I think we could have saw this coming, that the Patriots, and Van Noy talked about this at length, that Bill Belichick really used him in the best possible way and got the best out of his skill set because of the usage in defense. And then he goes someplace else, and he was still productive for Miami, but they obviously felt that the contract did not match the production.
They saved $9 million with this. So,
right.
In a year where cap is tight, it's certainly understandable. It's not that he fell off extremely or anything like that. The other interesting angle here, as we discuss a potential Patriots return for Kyle Van Noy, is normally in one of these scenarios where a former Patriot or a clear Patriot target ends up on the market and you say he makes sense for New England, you also kind of have to talk about, the satellite campuses of the New England Patriots.
Right.
But right now, Detroit's no longer a satellite campus. Matt Patricia's out. He's not going, probably not going back to Miami. Like those satellite, maybe the Giants would be the only one left, but you're not talking about, competition within the Bill Belichick coaching tree to get him. If Bill wants him, he's not fighting off his other assistants to get him. I think it would make a ton of sense. I don't know if we have the tape, if we can go back and pull the tape from the first time we worked together at CLNS when Van Noy left. I said that, and I said this all over the place. Kyle Van Noy to me screamed like that Patrick Chung, Jamie Collins type of player, where he comes to New England. I guess Chung's first stint wasn't great, but comes to New England, proves to be, a quality player, goes elsewhere, chases the money, doesn't have the same success in another system, and then comes back for a second stint and really solidifies his legacy as a Patriot. I can totally see Kyle Van Noy following that track, and it's playing out here. I don't think it's going to cost the Patriots a ton to bring him back. Like, I don't think his market's going to be too robust. And then on top of that, they have the money if they have to pay him a little more, if they want him back. They need linebackers. They need veteran, experienced linebackers. This should absolutely be a conversation. The Patriots should absolutely be in on Van Noy.
I wouldn't be surprised if Kyle Van Noy is a Patriot by the end of the week, because he can sign with any team now. They just released him, so he's automatically an unrestricted free agent, just like J.J. Watt was. He doesn't have to wait till March 17th to sign with a new team. The Patriots have that need, like you said, for a veteran linebacker. I think another linebacker in the draft, when you just drafted Uche and Jennings, is kind of more of the same. Unless you're going to go up in the first round and get Micah Parsons or Zaven Collins or somebody like that that's going to come in and make a day one impact, you're kind of looking at the same sort of trajectory for their careers, whereas Van Noy, is a plug-and-play starter for you on the edge. And that was really where his career blossomed, is when Bill Belichick, early on in his career with Detroit, Van Noy played inside linebacker off the ball for the Lions, and that was a role change, a position switch for him. In college, he was an edge rusher, rushing the passer, setting the edge of the defense, playing behind the line of scrimmage or on the line of scrimmage, and that was where he really felt most comfortable. And then he goes and he transitions, obviously, to inside linebacker due to his size, due to his athletic ability at the pro level, and it didn't work out in Detroit, and he was a failed second-round pick with the Lions that the Patriots get for absolutely nothing, one of those Bill Belichick pick swap swindles that he has done in the past. He comes to New England. Belichick puts him back on the line of scrimmage in a 3-4 defense as an outside linebacker, and everybody's making these Mike Vrabel, Rosie Colvin, whatever one you want to use, kind of comparisons of this guy that can play a little bit on the line, a little bit off the line, extremely versatile guy, really smart and cerebral guy that really started to pick up the system later on in his Patriots career as well. And Bill Belichick talked about that too, of how smart of a player and instinctive of a player Kyle Van Noy became. So 2019, the boogeyman, his last season with the Patriots, Van Noy was a really, really good player for them. Led the team in quarterback pressures, goes ahead and gets paid by Miami. And here we are, that he's a free agent again. So it was a little bit of an interesting ending, I would say, to Van Noy's Patriots tenure. That 2019 season obviously didn't end any way that anyone was expecting. But I remember standing in the locker room on the day after they lost to the Titans, speaking to Kyle Van Noy, and we all left that day saying, "Oh, this guy's chasing the money, right? There's no way he's back here next year. He's going to go after the biggest contract possible in the free agent market." We all thought that Miami was a possibility. Detroit was a possibility again with Matt Patricia. He ends up in Miami for, I think it was almost $13 million a year, a really big free agent contract. It just felt like the writing was on the wall for him at that point, that he was going to go ahead and get paid and take advantage of how well he played in New England. But now it's a different story, and the Patriots have the cap space. This move makes all the sense in the world to add him back with Dante Hightower and give them some veteran presence at that edge position. That was, I would say, arguably the worst part of their defense last year, was setting the edge of the defense. John Simon, Chase Winovich really struggled in that role. Van Noy did not. So I think that this is an easy one to decide that they should go after him, I would say.
And I guess I'll just to backtrack something I said, because I saw somebody, I can't remember who pointed this out on Twitter. There is, I guess, technically one more Patriots satellite campus out there now, and that's down in Tampa. And they do have some linebackers that are pending free agents, so maybe that's competition. But
it's a different scheme, though, right? It's not the Patriots scheme. Yeah, Brady is down there, but
Brady's becoming more and more the coach. He might take over the defensive side of the ball at some point. But
Todd Bowles is a very good defensive coordinator. He just won them the Super Bowl, basically. Right. So I think the other thing with going down there, I will mention, is that maybe more so than Brady, Kyle Van Noy is extremely close with Robbie G, as he calls him, Rob Gronkowski. Those two were really good friends in New England. So maybe if you're looking for a Tampa Bay connection, I think it's actually beyond Brady. It might actually be Gronk that could really appeal to Kyle Van Noy. Again, I think the biggest thing is that he knew that Bill Belichick optimized him here in New England. He knew that his skill set was best used by Bill. And I remember he went on, I can't remember, I think it was a Bleacher Report podcast or something like that, where he said, I got to New England, Bill kind of gave me like a 3-step plan of how he was going to use me in this defense. And I kind of had an epiphany of like, wow, this guy knows exactly how to use me correctly. This is exactly how I should have been playing my entire career. And he really turned it around with the Patriots. This would be an awesome move for the Pats. This is exactly the type of player, the type of situation that they needed. Somebody that they have a past relationship with, that they can bring in to add to the front seven. I couldn't really think, I never thought that this was a possibility, because I think he actually had a pretty solid season.
Yeah, no, he was good. This is we did last week, the cap casualties.
Right.
This is a cap casualty. They have Andrew Van Ginkel, who isn't Van Noy, but isn't a bad player at all. Like, he's a solid player. So, there's not a $9 million gap between the two of them. It was worth freeing up the $9 million. That's just the reality of what this offseason is going to be in the NFL for most teams. Not all of them. There's a handful of teams that do actually have some cap space under the lowered salary cap, but you're going to see players like this, like Kyle Van Noy, quality players coming off of good years. Van Noy, is he even 30? Like, he's not.
I don't think so, because the Patriots got him on his rookie contract. Remember, from Detroit, excuse me, when they made that trade, he was still a rookie on his rookie deal. I mean, and I think
he turns 30 March 26th.
Right. So
a guy who age isn't an issue here.
No, age isn't an issue. I would assume as well that this is probably going to be one of those situations where the player is going to take a 1-year deal to try to reset his value. This just screams exactly what Jamie Collins just did with the Patriots, right? And I think they're going to have to pay Van Noy a little bit more than what they paid Collins this last time around. But this screams that situation where he signs a 1-year deal back in New England, where he knows he's going to start and he knows he's going to produce. It's an easy transition back into the system for him. He knows everything, the ins and the outs of the defense like the back of his hand. He's going to have a great season with the Patriots if he comes back.
I love how we're already talking about this like it's just a done deal. It's done.
It's obviously going to be up to him, right? It's obviously going to be up to him if he wants to come back, but it didn't end on a poor note. I mean, obviously it ended on a poor note in terms of the results. Losing to the Titans in the wild card round was not what anybody had in mind. But
he specifically did not play well in that game.
Yeah, it didn't end poorly with the coaching staff. It didn't end poorly with Bill Belichick. There was no sourness on either side. It was just that Miami came out and gave this Godfather type of offer to Kyle Van Noy in free agency that the Patriots just never were going to match. But I think it really comes back to the fact that the Patriots have, like we've been saying, they have those young linebackers in Uche and Jennings that are those developmental pieces. If you add another guy, if you add a Pete Warner, if you add somebody like that in the second or the third round, it's kind of the same thing, right? You're still going with young, inexperienced players. Van Noy gives them a guy that has been here, done that, won a Super Bowl, understands how the scheme is run, and understands his role within it. That's why it makes so much sense, is that for
And you look
player
at
and for team, this can be sort of a reclamation project for both sides.
right, and you look, I mean, Hightower, we think, is coming back from the opt-out. The report is he's coming back, but beyond
Right.
that, I mean, their next closest linebacker, he's kind of in that gray area, I guess, in terms of veteran, is John Simon. He's a pending free agent. And who
Correct.
knows if he's coming back. So if you lose Simon, then you have Hightower coming off a year off. You have Bentley, who has like 30 something NFL games under his belt, and then a bunch of rookies or second year guys. So
Correct.
this was a huge problem last year. You mentioned their linebackers, specifically on the edge, were one of the main issues. I think a big reason that was an issue is you just had a ton of guys who had either never played in the NFL or played only a handful of snaps in the NFL. That's a position where experience is huge, and they didn't have it. They had Brandon Copeland for like 4 or 5 weeks, but he was mostly on special teams, and then he got hurt. They didn't have that veteran presence. Again, Shalik Calhoun kind of was in that role at one point. He's hardly what you would consider, not a bad player, but he's hardly a seasoned NFL veteran. He's a departure from the kind of, veteran leader Donta Hightower is. Kyle Van Noy can give you some of that. So not only does he help schematically, I think just having him in that room would be incredibly valuable to the team as they try to develop the Josh Uches, the Anthony Jennings, Terez Hall, like whoever.
Absolute no-brainer, I think, from the Patriots' perspective. The question is does Van Noy want to come back? Are the Patriots going to be willing to pay the money that he might be able to get on the open market? But from New England's perspective, an absolute no-brainer. This was the type of veteran linebacker move that they kind of needed this offseason, right? I didn't really think that they were going to be too interested in a Levante David or even a Matt Milano at their price tags, but Van Noy on a 1-year, $8 million deal to come play edge for them so that they can develop Uche and Jennings behind him. That's got no brainer from a Patriot perspective written all over it.